Hang on. Look. Look what I have. Look, say hello. Say, oh, no, wait. Say hello, everybody. Look, right
Hello,
there.
hello, my
Look
boy.
right there. Who's that? Look at the peoples. Look at the peoples. Oh, I got myself caught up in this. And then we do this and get a close up to this. And then this. Look, Bruno. You're on the internet. You're on the internet, buddy. Come here. Oh, smack me in the face. You've gotten so big. You've gotten so big, haven't you? Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Look at the peoples. Oh, you hear the other dog? Folks, this is now officially Bruno. Bruno King, formerly Rowan, has now joined our little family and is just completely just fallen in love with everyone. Melissa is just a basket case when it comes to the puppy because you just let him sleep with us and you and get under the covers and scratch my butt.
No, he doesn't get under the covers anymore.
He is a Mastiff Pit Bull mix. So I think in about 4 more days, I won't be able to do this anymore. He's liable to get to be a very big boy, aren't you? Aren't you? I've become that guy who's got dog treats in every one of his pockets now too, and poop bags. I carry with me all the time. You're so good. You're so. You want to take him?
Oh no, put him down.
There you go.
Oh, you just dropped
I
him.
didn't drop him. He jumped. I didn't drop him. He leapt out of my arms. So yes, that's the new puppy. Let me just see if I can't do this. And while we talk about the puppy, I do this, and then I'll do this, and then do that, and then we do this. He is a rescue, and I encourage everybody, if you're looking to get yourself a new pet, go to your local SPCA. There are dozens of dogs, hundreds of dogs around North America, and thousands of dogs around the world who would like a new home, would like to come home with you. You don't need a purebred dog unless you're actually going to breed them and take them to the Westminster Kennel Show, which was last night. You don't need purebred animals, and you'll get just as much love and just as much fun out of a shelter puppy, and you'll enjoy it just as much if he's a mutt, if he's a Shih Tzu, Pit Bull cross, or whatever it might be. You'll make the dog's life literally, helping him find his, as we call it, the forever home. So as I said before, it was 2-3 weeks ago, I was doing a class, and one of the ladies here, turns out, as I've discovered, a very well-known dog trainer on the Sunshine Coast, I was taking the class, and she said, "Would you mind if I bring this foster dog?" I said, "No, we all love dogs. We've been talking about getting a dog ourselves, so please bring the dog." We brought the dog, and we all fell in love with him like right away. He was very calm, very quiet, greeted people well, didn't jump up on you, didn't do anything that would put you off. And so then a few days later, we decided, yes, we wanted to adopt Rowan. We contacted Jane, the trainer, and she said, "Well, there's another family looking at Rowan." And we were like, "I hope they die. I hope bad things happen to them." 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, Jane said the other families decided that Rowan, they can't fit Rowan into their life. You guys have him. And we're like, "Oh." And literally, Melissa was on the other side of town. She was a half hour away, and I called her up. The SPCA closes at 4. I called her up at 3 o'clock. Said, "How fast can you come home? We got the dog." We'd already decided the name the night before. We were lying in bed going through puppy names, and I came up with Bruno. For those of you who are familiar with the Sunshine Coast or CBC TV, The Beachcombers was a very well-known show when I was a kid and when a lot of other Canadians were kids. And the main character was Nick, but his name was Bruno Gerussi. And so I thought I think Bruno fit him too. Not as much when he was really tiny, but I think he'll grow into the name Bruno. And so we rushed out to the SPCA and gave them a bunch of money and then rushed back home. And now we have Bruno. who is the worst walking dog ever,
Well, he's
Melissa.
only 15 weeks.
But
So,
he doesn't walk well. He's not a walker.
well, I mean, he's only young, so you're not very good at expectations. You need to know what to expect. That's like expecting a toddler to go out and go for a long walk with a toddler.
No,
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not what I'm expecting. You're saying the same thing, though, that you have
Yes.
to drag him.
Oh, yes. No, at the moment, he's not a good walker, but he's going to be a good walker.
That picture just reminded me, he's great with, I don't know, not great, but he's good with the cats. We were very worried about Mandy, our older cat, and less so about Wallace. But he pretty much ignores them. Wallace is fascinated by him. Wallace follows him around, then jumps up on things and stares at the dog. It's very funny. They both give him a couple of smacks to let him know that who's boss, and so he completely respects the cats. He doesn't chase them. Mandy, or is it Wallace that he barks at every now and then?
He, for some reason, barks at my old geriatric.
But he's barking in a very playful way. It seems like he wants to play with Mandy.
Yeah, it's more just, and she's not scared.
Yeah.
She's fine.
She just stares at him like, "What are you? Shut up!" You know?
Yeah. He's and my oldest son, he suffers very, very badly with anxiety, like really bad. But he gets up in the morning and he says he comes in and sees the puppy, and it just fills him with joy.
Yeah.
And going to get once he's learned how to walk properly, Rory will take him out for walks, and I think he's a wonderful addition to the family.
We're taking him for puppy training in 2 weeks. Again, the lady Jane is the trainer, and her and I worked out a deal. I'll take pictures of dogs for her, and she'll let us put Bruno into puppy training. He's already been in puppy training with her for the first 4 weeks, so it'll be like a refresher course. 6 weeks classes. We'll go again on this Sunday, so I can get some more pictures with the right lenses. I was misinformed about the location, so I brought the wrong lenses. And then we'll go and do official puppy training and socialization. He's very good with other dogs. If you watch the video, he loves playing with other dogs. He runs around with other dogs. He even bigger dogs. He's a little rough with smaller ones. The little tiny one today, Poppy, he bowled her over a couple of times. And he was a little rough with a smaller dog at the puppy training I took him to on Sunday. So that's the only thing. He's a little rambunctious because he just doesn't know. He thinks everyone can play the same way.
Yeah, and around the corner this afternoon there was a much smaller dog than him, and he puts his paw up on them, and I didn't like that.
Yeah, he wants to play.
Getting a bit.
Yeah, but with bigger dogs, he rolls around and nips in them on the ear and chases them all over. Where I was at the dog park today, and there's a big, huge chocolate lab, and they were wrestling and playing and having a great time. So I'm not worried about him with bigger dogs, but with smaller ones because he's so rambunctious.
I still ask people. I'll say, "Is your dog good with puppies?" And I've had probably 3 or 4 people say to me now, "You know what? No."
Yeah.
So I don't let him just go up to any dog when I'm walking.
Even when I go to the dog park, same thing. I keep him on the leash until I take him to introduce him to the other dogs and ask the people, is it okay if I let him off the leash?
Yeah, because some older dogs just don't like it.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's one of the best parts. He sleeps through the night for the most part, which blew us away. That literally we hop on the bed at 8:00 to watch TV or watch movies. He hops in bed with us.
Oh, he's just out.
He's out.
His little puppy belly.
He's just out, and he stays out. And literally, so 11:00, time to go to bed. We take him out for one last pee or poop.
Which he doesn't want to do.
And we got to drag.
Sean's got to drag him. Oh, he's almost like in REM, and he's got to drag him out. It is funny.
Literally got to drag him off the bed and drag him. Like, literally, he's all... and you're dragging him down the hallway to get him to go outside. He goes outside, he pees, wants to come right back in. And then he hops up in the bed and he snuggles between the two of us. And then at some point, I have to push him down to the end of the bed.
Roll him.
Roll him. Literally just rolls over. Just like you tumble him over at the end of the bed. And then we go to sleep. And at some point, generally around 3:00 at night, he's managed to squirm his way up between the two of us again, which is very fine and cute. Until he has his little doggy dreams, or nightmares, whatever it is, and he starts kicking. And he's kicking me in the ass. And so suddenly at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, Bruno, stop.
I know.
Buddy, come on. I gotta get to sleep. There was one night, I don't know if you remember, one morning, maybe 3 or 4 nights ago, I wake up and I turn the alarm off. I roll over to snuggle with my wife, and there's the dog. I was like, dude, get out of the way.
Shawn was very, very grumpy.
I want to snuggle with my wife, and you're in the way. Folks, on tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about the news of the week. Talking about Apple Plus and whether or not Apple News Plus, and whether it's a complete disaster or just a small disaster. Low Apple TV news, Apple versus Russia. And in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about how technical do you have to be in order to take a good photo. All that and much more coming up just in a little while. So please stay tuned. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening on our phone. We've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. I decided since a couple weeks in a row I didn't have any beer before your show that I was not going to drink during your show anymore.
Well, thanks for joining us. Folks, next we're going to talk to someone more interesting. Dude, what? Why?
Well, because I was more lucid, and actually I made that decision yesterday, but I already broke it and I'm drinking now.
Dude, it's lucid, not lucent. Jesus Christ.
See?
Oh, by the way, folks, if you know Jim, you know he is a huge dog lover. Has and had dogs for most of your life, I assume.
Yeah.
He gave me some great advice, and it was really interesting. People don't realize this. One of the things I hate is a dog that begs at the table. And tell the audience the advice you gave me about how to prevent a dog from begging at the table.
Well, I think, first of all, if you give a dog food, most people tend to give food in or around the table. So the dog always associates the table with getting good people food. Yep. Now, I don't think that you should give dog people food, but, a piece of steak or something is fine. So I always take the plate out, put it on the counter, and wait, and then put it into the dog's dish so that at least it doesn't associate that plate or me sitting down at the table with food.
Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't realized that, but that's a good point. That the dog is going to associate you sitting down and those noises with, oh, yummy food, so I'm going to beg for
Yeah.
some. So,
Yeah.
what do you think about raw food? I hear a lot of people talking about feeding their dogs raw food or food they prepared themselves.
Well, there are foods, depending on your dog's diet, there are foods that are good for dogs. Like my dog, we just found out this week, has kidney disease and
Oh,
probably isn't going to last maybe a year.
sorry to hear
But
that.
she's on white rice right now, white rice and some food. But white rice and ground beef for some dogs are good. I mean, you can cook things like that. But I always went for a very high quality dog food.
Yeah.
If you get the cheap dog food, then your dog is going to have problems.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's the same as us. So we eat McDonald's every day. We're going to have problems.
Exactly.
You give your dog cheap McDonald's type food, they're going to have problems too. But this was a rescue. We've had her for 2 years, and we knew that this would eventually happen. So.
Yeah. Will you rescue another dog? Was it an older dog that you rescued, or?
Oh yeah, she was an older dog that was given up. She needed a home. We rescued it.
Fantastic.
And we've had her for 2 years now, and hopefully we have to give her IV now 3 times a week, but hopefully that'll give her another year.
Yeah.
She's a great dog. She's having a good life. She rules the roost. So,
well, it's good to hear. Let's move on to the news of the week. We missed last week's show, so this is news from the week before. Apple's news service business chief departs after slow start. Liz Schmeil was Condé Nast executive prior to joining Apple in 2018. Is this, I don't want to say death knell for Apple News Plus, but is this on life support?
Well, look, I'll say that one person leaving a company is not the death knell for anything.
Okay.
And I think that we've seen that even with Steve. But Apple News is a bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know if this came from Apple, where they said, look, we need something better than this, or if it came from this person just saying, I'm out.
Yep.
Both of those are equally as reasonable at this point with Apple News the way that it is. And, I didn't get a chance to tell you last week, but I mentioned to Dave that Apple News is the one subscription thing that Apple has that I quit.
Yeah.
And when it first came out, I was pretty good with it. I knew that there were problems, but I was pretty good with it.
Yeah.
And because I could do a search and bring up articles instead of magazines, which, the magazines I didn't really care about a whole lot. But then I realized, and it was, I think back in December, I realized that, I this charge comes up for Apple News Plus, and I thought, when was the last time I actually read that?
Yeah.
And, it's one of these emails that you get or something that was from Apple. There was an alert or something that you've been charged $9.99 for Apple News Plus. And what made it even worse was that Apple TV Plus is here. I get a lot more of enjoyment over that for half the price.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So right then and there, as soon as I saw that alert that, hey, $9.99, I actually thought, and I scrolled through my Apple News feed, which I do use Apple News a lot.
Yeah.
But I scrolled through and looked at all the Plus stuff, and it's never anything that I read.
Yep.
And I don't know really what happened between the time that Apple News Plus was released and I was searching and reading for those stories, and the time that in December that I stopped.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there was a disconnect between me and Apple News Plus. and I'm not quite sure when it happened.
Yeah.
But it did. I could have been paying for it for months and not using it. I don't know. So, but there is a disconnect there between me and this service. Whereas, Apple TV Plus and iCloud and, the extra iCloud storage
Yep.
and all of that kind of stuff, I can tell you the last time I used each one of those things. I know exactly. And I have them all because I want them all.
Yep.
So this one, I just said,
I don't even use Apple News, let alone Apple News Plus. I had my free subscription to Apple News Plus, and the interface just pissed me off, and I'm not paying for a bad interface. But even Apple News I don't use. I can't customize it the way I can, say, an RSS feed. If Apple could let me import my RSS feed into Apple News, maybe I'd use their app more. But I don't even use their app. But the problems are many and well known, and it's been 2 years now, and Apple's done literally nothing with Apple News Plus and has not made Apple News better. This to me is remarkable that it feels like it's another one of these things that Apple's done where they've invented or they've created or they've bought this really cool idea, and someone in the company really loved it, and then that person just forgot about it or left or whatever, and there's no one to pick up the slack. Apple News and News Plus is a dead zone for the vast majority of people. I'd be willing to bet. I think it's probably the least used service that Apple has, and I would not be surprised to see them kill it inside the next year.
Well, Apple News, I actually use Apple News and Google News. So Google News has the same, and I use the widget. When you scroll to the end of your page and then to the first page on your iPhone, and then scroll once more, and it brings up all your widgets. Well, I have two widgets in there, Apple News and Google News. Yeah. I have Google News there because it shows me local news. So it'll say, here's news that's happening around, your town. Yeah. And a lot of times that's, like Aunt May cooked a pot roast and, she took it to the fire department.
For us,
that's the news.
For us, it's literally, there's a llama loose on Reed Road. Could someone come get their llama? Literally, I've seen that in our local news. That's what kind of a small town I live in. Llama on the loose. News at 11,
So, but it's so funny when it happens, you see this stuff. But Apple News won't show me any kind of local news, and I don't know if that's because they don't have the feed, or I don't know why it is. But I don't want to. One of the things that I do truly believe is talking to people that have different opinions than I do, and talking and reading things that are different, opinionated than what I am.
Yeah.
So Apple News is great for that because it gives me, a wide variety of stories that I can look at that may not agree with what I think. And I go in and I read those. And then I realize how right I actually am. And it makes me feel better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
So I like Apple News for that because it brings, I did have to block some Fox stuff though, because they're just crazy.
Apple News Plus is just too expensive. There's no way that anyone is going to... Anyone who's that much of a news junkie already has a workflow set up for them where they can get information from the web instantly as opposed to waiting for a monthly magazine or weekly magazine. Apple has to bundle Apple News Plus with something to get any kind of traction. I don't think they're going to be able to keep this thing going at $10 a month.
Well, no, I can't see that happening. But I don't know what they could bundle it with other than just, here, take it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'd have to be a super bundle, toss them with everything else, and it's sort of an add-on kind of thing. Like when you buy cable and you get HGTV. All right, fine, I'll take it. You don't have a choice.
But at this point, I don't know if I would read it even if it was free.
Yep, that's right.
So I'm not sure... Like I said, there's some kind of disconnect, and I can't pinpoint the time that disconnect happened.
Yeah.
but it did.
Yep.
And I have no thoughts in my head that, oh, I have to go back and fix that disconnect. No, no. No.
Yep.
I don't care to. I don't want to. Doesn't matter.
That's right. Something that does matter, in November 2019, the Russian parliament passed what's become known as the law against Apple. Legislation, which is now in place, will require all smartphone devices to preload a host of applications that may provide the Russian government with a glut of information about its citizens, including their location, finances, and private communications. Apple has declined to comment on what it plans to do and has not made an official statement. What do you think Apple is going to do with regards to this new Russian law?
Well, there's two competing factors here. One is that Apple has always said, and I totally agree with, that it has to do business under the laws of the countries that it does business in. Absolutely agree with that. I would not want Apple to be, breaking any laws in any country. The other thing is obviously Apple's stance on privacy.
Yeah. Rock and a hard
place. I almost said piracy, but privacy. So I don't know what Apple does here.
Yep.
If I did know what Apple does here, then I should be CEO of some company.
Well, the easiest solution for Apple, and easy in air quotes, is just pull out of Russia. I don't think they can allow the Russian government to do what they want to do and still be able to say what's on your iPhone stays in your iPhone. They just can't reconcile those two things. There's no middle ground there unless they can work out some negotiation with the Russian government, and they won't be able to because this is not just Apple, but it's all smartphones. And the Android guys won't care. They'll put this stuff on there just to make sales. Apple has to pull out of Russia. They don't have a choice.
Well, and the bigger question after that is, then what are other countries going to do?
Yep.
Then does every country say, oh, well, you have to put my app on there too?
Yep.
And then Apple's stance against privacy is gone.
Completely gone. And the thing is, if Apple does this for Russia, the Chinese are going to do it, and that's a huge market for Apple. They can't afford to pull out of the Chinese market, but they can afford, I think I read somewhere that Apple makes approximately $3 billion in revenue in Russia each year, which is not, it's real money, but it wouldn't hurt the company. It wouldn't cripple the company.
At what point is $3 billion not real money?
No kidding. Yeah. But if you're Jeff Bezos, it's not real money.
That's true.
But if the Chinese government said they had to do this, then Apple would be in serious trouble because of their inability to, again, reconcile those two things. I think Apple's going to be willing to give up the Russian market to the gray marketers, those people who will bring in iPhones from Western Europe. I don't think this is, as Fast Company described it, a Putin problem. I think Apple will eventually just go, you know what, we're not doing it. Bye-bye.
Well, I think that unfortunately that has to be. You stay in there. Right. Bottle tried to jump out.
Yeah.
This has to be a decision that Apple makes for the betterment of the company, but also for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
To show the rest of the world that, oh, you know what? But you have to remember, Russia doesn't care if Apple's there.
That's right.
I mean, China doesn't care if Apple's there. All they want is the information.
Yeah.
So if Samsung's going to give them that information, okay, come on, Samsung.
Yep.
Here's an extra $3 billion for you on your bottom line.
Yeah.
So the governments could care less if Apple pulled out of every country and went bankrupt. Who cares?
Somebody on the Loop comments made a really interesting point. They said, I don't think Apple will abandon this market. They'll do a special version of the iOS. That's a possibility, isn't it?
I can't see it. What's the difference?
Well, the difference would be that it would allow these kinds of hooks that the Russian government wants to put in, and it would be called the Russian iOS. So other people wouldn't use it. You wouldn't install this because it's got the Russian software built into it.
Okay, so as soon as somebody sees and takes apart the Russian OS and figures out what they're doing to allow these hooks, and then they distribute it in another country somehow.
Mm-hmm. But why
Then
would
what?
you?
Then
But why would you install the Russian iOS on your phone if you live
no,
in
no. I'm
Kansas?
saying, what if you're in Kansas and you get here's a new special beta of the next OS
Yep.
of iOS, but it's actually the Russian OS that's been hacked to get your information because now they can.
But Apple can
I
prevent that because you'd have the iOS, the Russian iOS, signed in a different way than the U.S. iOS, so to speak.
Yeah, well, they're still finding ways into iPhones as much as Apple wants
But
to
also, if you're
stop
dumb,
it all.
if you're dumb enough to install an iOS version that isn't from Apple, then I got no sympathy for you.
Okay, well, we're talking about some pretty dumb people here.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Speaking of dumb people, I it's kind of hard to take this guy to task. This Apple engineer in 2018, whose Tesla he was killed in his Tesla. He had previously complained about the autopilot in his car in this particular place.
Mm-hmm.
It took the life of Apple engineer Walter Huang that Dave wrote about on The Loop today. I feel for the guy's family. I feel for the Apple family who knew him. But if something screws up in this place, why would you keep it on in that place again?
That was exactly my thought, and it scares me to think that we thought the same thing.
He's got... you've got to have some responsibility for your own actions, some culpability for your own mistakes. There was a story a couple of days ago of the guy who was using Google Maps, and Google Maps gave him walking directions that had him walking across the river. And so he walked across the river and fell in instead of taking the bridge that was 50 yards down the road. You can't just blindly accept and use technology, especially when it does dumb things. So he's driving along in autopilot, and in this one section of the road, the autopilot screws up.
And he knows it.
And he knows it because he complains about it at Tesla. There's submissions and notices and documents about this. And then he does it again at some period of time later. Again, I'm sorry that he's dead, but dude, come on. Don't do that.
Look, I don't want to say anything derogatory against this guy because he is dead.
Yep.
And his family, they grieve and all of that. I'm very sorry, but we've said this so many times before. I don't care if autopilot is driving or not. You are responsible for that vehicle.
Yeah.
You have to be ready at all times to take control.
Yep.
And you can't be like some of these morons are sitting in the back seat, reading
Yep.
or sleeping or, whatever. I have a hard time. I thought about this when I saw it and I read the story. I would have a very difficult time putting on autopilot and then driving to an area where I knew that it had problems.
Yeah.
And that I had complained for a year that it had problems.
That's right.
And I am not going to put my hands on the wheel,
Yeah.
even though I know the car is going to veer into an obstacle.
Yep.
I mean, come on. At what point does society stop taking responsibility for its actions? And I think that's where we are with this. Is there something wrong? Obviously.
Yeah.
Clearly, there is something wrong with this part of the road that the autopilot just can't figure out.
Yep.
But he knew it, and he still did it. So,
And records indicate that he was using his phone at the time, which is I think in California illegal, even if you were in a autopilot mode. I think part of the problem is perception that even smart people like Apple engineers hear the word autopilot and think they can climb into the frickin' trunk and get driven around. I'm surprised that I think Tesla's just going on inertia. They should have always called this driver assist. I think calling it autopilot's always given people the wrong impression of what's possible with this. And Tesla reinforces that impression by showing the car doing all kinds of cool things all by itself. But yeah, like you said, you still got to be responsible for the vehicle. You still got to have your hands on the wheel or very close to it, ready to take over. These are not yet completely autonomous vehicles.
So my car doesn't have autopilot, but it does have, like many cars do, this auto cruise thing where it'll slow down and speed up with traffic,
which is kind of cool.
So you set the cruise control at, say, 75. So the most that the car will do is 75 miles an hour on the freeway. But if the car in front of you is only doing 60, it'll slow down and keep a safe distance between the two cars at his speed. When he pulls over, it'll speed up and go up to 75, but no more.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, I always have my foot ready and on the brake. I don't have my feet up on the dash.
Yeah, that's right.
My foot is always ready.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for the first time last week, I was driving down the freeway. And I had it on, I had cruise on, and it was, doing the whole traffic thing. And still I was cruising along probably at 70 miles an hour. And all of a sudden it turned off.
Oh, geez.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It turned off and said, adaptive cruise control is unavailable, temporarily unavailable. So, I mean, immediately what happened, of course, with something like that is that I started to slow down.
Yeah.
But I saw it right away because I'm always ready. My feet are right there by the pedals, and off we go again, and it was fine. But for some reason, there was a malfunction, whatever, and it just turned off. Now, it did give me an alert, but even without that, since this was just cruise control, all it did was start to slow down a bit, and it only slowed down a few miles an hour before I caught it, and off we go.
Yeah.
But what if this was autopilot and I was sitting in the back seat? Oh shit.
Insane.
I got it. Yeah. So I think people need to take responsibility for what they're doing.
There were two stories that happened this week and last that got me thinking about how the media reports things and how things are talked about. One of them was it was a couple of weeks ago, I guess. The headline was Apple seeing a very well-known analyst, a Bernstein analyst, Tony Sacconaghi, who's often the free trial offer. He calls that a surprisingly low take. Everyone ran with this story. Of Apple's customers are eligible for a 12-month free trial. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is awful. He's got none. There's no basis for this at all except his own first quarter results released last week. Apple did not give specifics on the Apple TV Plus service. There's three possible explanations. First, Apple hasn't promoted it. I don't think it's true. That's bullshit because I've seen Apple TV ads all over the goddamn place. Third, silly to me. If only because
there's a strategy is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. He's just talking out his ass.
Yeah. some information about Apple, I'm willing to listen to them. You have to have some data or something to back you up. Breaking down those numbers into what you think may be happening, since Apple says nothing about any specific category anymore. That's just horseshit. I mean, you know,
And
you can't do that.
And the problem is, so many in the Macintosh and tech media ran with the story without ever saying anything like what we just said. That Sacconaggi has got no real data. That he's extrapolating from air. That he might possibly be making this up completely. Because it makes no sense to me that less than 10% of people would want to take up a free trial. It's no big deal. When I bought my new iPhone, I got a notice from Apple that said, you can get a free trial of Apple TV Plus. Go try it. I went, okay, free, no problem.
And it's free for a year.
It's free for a freaking year. Of course I'm going to sign up for it.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, I turned on my Apple TV right after it was announced, and because I had purchased some equipment, it said, you're available for a free trial. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even get finished reading the little button that was there. I said, hell yeah.
So I don't believe Sacconaggi's numbers whatsoever. They just do not make sense. They don't pass the laugh test, because I got to say at least 50% of the people who got that notice will win. Yeah, free, no problem. Give it to me. Now, someone said people wouldn't sign up because they might forget about this a year from now and get charged for it. Even if you get charged for it, it's $5 a month. So that's a silly argument. But it means that
that's less than the no fat latte with sprinkles and half whipped cream and coconut oil that you'll buy.
Exactly. So,
oh my God, those people drive me crazy. Get out of the line. Get out of the line.
Get out of the line.
I just want a coffee. Get out of the line.
There should be a line just for coffee and one for frou-frou drinks. Go get your frou-frou drink over there. If it takes you more than 15 seconds to say the name, get out of coffee. Get out of the store. Get out. So yeah, the numbers just don't make any sense from a logical point of view. I don't think at all people are thinking, oh, I'll forget about this in a year. It's easy to say, hey Siri, remind me in a year to cancel this. It's not rocket science.
Well, and have I forgotten about subscriptions? Obviously, Apple News Plus, I forgot about, but sure, I have. But this is something that I'm enjoying. So when the time comes and they start charging me, okay, well, whatever. It's $5. I'm okay with that. And I don't drink those foo-foo drinks, so I'll be good.
The next story that bugged me was Oscar-winning screenwriter Taki Wakanati, my apologies for screwing up his name, slams Apple after the awards, dunks on Apple's keyboards. I watched this, and give me your take on it. Did you think he was joking?
Well, all right. I don't think he was probably joking, but keep in mind that he just won an award, and so he may seem a bit out of it, but I mean, we know that there were problems.
Yeah, but my point is the way the media portrayed this. I saw it as he was joking because someone was asking him a dumb question about what the Writers Guild of America should do immediately after he wins an Academy Award. And even at least 3/4 of the stories reference the Variety tweet about this that had a link to the video. And Variety itself in the tweet said, Taka Watatiti jokes about what writers should be asking for in the next round of talks. Yeah. So it was there in the tweet. He was joking.
Everybody's going to take this stuff seriously. But I mean, and he is a writer, so everybody's going to say, oh, well, he's a writer, so he knows because he's been through it. And, joke or not, can you pick Apple apart for the keyboard? Sure.
Of course.
And you know, I say that being probably the only friggin' person on earth that didn't have a bad keyboard
That's right.
of all of those butterfly keyboards. I
Yeah.
did not have a
You had
bad
no
experience with
problems.
a single one. And I had a lot of those computers. So, you know, but still, you know, can you pick Apple apart for that? Sure. I mean,
I just didn't like the way the media portrayed this as if he was slamming it. When I watched it, I felt like he was joking. And again, the variety tweet said he was joking. It was just
yeah, but you think I'm joking when I say I really don't like to talk to you, and you
true.
laugh and
Fair,
think that that's you know that's
fair point.
you think, see, you think I'm joking right
I
now.
do actually.
I mean, the only reason I pick up the phone is because I'm half hammered on a Wednesday night, and
and
I know that you're calling, and
as I've always said, it's part of your probation.
well, that's it.
New music label says it can use AI to find the next big artist. Snafu Records claims its software can find fresh artists week before the competition. Do you believe this?
Mm, I don't. I mean, AI is good in a lot of
Yeah.
things. It really is. But
Why
I
couldn't
don't
it figure
know.
this out?
Well, I don't know how it could. I mean, is it going to find artists that already exist? Like, okay, this is popular and this is the same type of beat, but a little bit different.
Yep.
So this could be the next big one.
Yep.
Or is it going to be, you know, I would rather trust somebody's ears and say, you know, all the way that artists are found even today is with somebody's ears. Even though, you know, it's on YouTube or it could be on SoundCloud or whatever it is, but somebody is listening and say, holy shit, this is great. This is the next big artist. And, you know, the next big artist comes with a lot of promotion and a lot of money behind them and, you know, whatever. I don't know. I don't know how AI can do that when, you know, we're looking at a medium that continually changes. So, you know, do you mash together like you know, a Michael Jackson and a Beyonce and a Jay-Z and say, this is what I'm looking for, all of these three things in one, and AI can find that? Well, yeah, maybe it can. I don't know. But I'm maybe it's just me who, for music anyway, it's about feel,
Yeah, I wonder how
you
much
know?
of this is our own human construct that we think that music is organic and therefore only an organic thing can find the good and the bad in music, that there's the algorithm can't do what you just said. Oh, Eminem and a little bit of Beyonce and a little bit of Jay-Z and put them together, make a song or make an artist. I don't think this is possible. I don't know the math behind it. I don't know the algorithm behind it. It just doesn't feel like it's something that could actually work. And maybe that is just because I want humans in the process. I want that opinion of a human
Right.
saying this is good, this is bad, this is indifferent.
Yeah, I mean, because if you asked an an algorithm, an artificial piece of artificial intelligence, find me an artist on YouTube that sounds the most like Michael Jackson's beat and not his pedophile tendencies, but the rest of it. Find that for me. You could probably do that.
Yeah.
But that's not what finding the next artist is all about. Finding the next artist is about finding something that changes what we already know.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're finding the next like super artist.
Yeah.
I mean, could AI have figured out from hair metal is going to come grunge? You know, in the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you tell AI to actually look for grunge?
Mm-hmm.
How do you tell it that, okay, Pearl Jam and Nirvana are going to be the next big thing?
Yep.
I don't understand how that works.
I think that's also the beauty of music, is that stuff happens organically. It's a surprise. It's not. It's because your ears, your brain likes that sound coming out of your speakers, whether it's you with Ozzy or me with Prince, and you may not like Prince, I may not like Ozzy, but we can all agree it's a good music. You know, when
Right.
it's so I can't see an algorithm ever being able to pull that off.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, but then again, I'm not smart enough to know how the algorithm works.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, you know how this algorithm works. This was a funny story I posted on the Loop. Why do I have to remove my AirPods to order coffee?
yeah. How about respect?
Dear Salty, I was at the coffee shop counter and the cashier wouldn't take my order until I took off my AirPod, and it was only in one ear. Am I the asshole here? Kevin. Jim.
Hello,
Kevin.
Yes, you're an asshole, Kevin.
Why is Kevin an asshole?
Kevin's an asshole because he has his AirPods in and he's trying to order. No, Kevin, you're an asshole. I mean, take out your earpods.
Yep.
And interact with people.
Yeah.
Don't treat the person, I don't know if it's a girl or a guy,
yep.
like they don't matter for shit. And you can just, and some people do listen to their music.
Yep.
And then they say, what? Oh, I didn't hear you. Oh, what? You know what? Just get out of the line.
Yep.
So Kevin,
Oh, I agree.
Officially, you're an asshole.
Officially, he's absolutely an asshole. As the salty waitress says, the cashier is a human being just like you. Their role in your life may be temporary and functional, but they've got feelings and hopes and dreams, aspirations. And like you, they probably would like your full and undivided attention when you ask them to perform a service. That's the thing. You're not talking to a machine. It's not a vending machine standing in front of you. It's a human being. Show them enough respect to give them your attention. Pull the one frickin' AirPod out for the 10 seconds it takes to order your latte with skim foam whip and a half shot of decaf, and then put it back in your dumbass head.
Right. So I used to do this a lot when this is even before we started Mac Central back in '94. This is before that. So, you know, people would call you. They'd have either then a home phone or a cell phone. Yeah. Although, boy, cell phones were, I guess the Razor was probably out then. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then they would call you and start talking to you, get a beep and say, oh, just hold on, I have a beep.
Oh, God, I hate that. Oh, I hate that.
You know what I do? I hang up.
Exactly.
And then when they call back, I don't answer.
Yep. Because what they just did was said, this beep is more important than you.
Right. So I hang up.
Yep.
If somebody calls me and then says, oh, just hang on, I hang up on them. And I won't answer your call then.
That's right.
Because if that's how important I am, then screw you. So if I was a barista, can you imagine me as a barista?
No.
Oh my.
No.
Oh my, oh my, oh my. If I was a barista and somebody came in, had their headphones on, I'd just ignore them.
That's right. Yeah. I remember back in the good old days when you and I used to talk on the phone on a regular basis, and we'd be chatting, and Jim would suddenly, I'd hear that little break, and Jim would be chatting, going, "Okay, I have to go. I have another call," and he'd hang up on me. It was just that guy. Okay.
But I mean, at that point, I was just faking the beat. There was nobody on the other line. I just wanted to get you off the phone.
Oh, that's. I fake phone calls too. I mean, there's no doubt. I've been in conversation with someone and I go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. I'm getting a call," and I'll take that call. I have to go now and walk away talking to someone. Oh, I've done that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know that happens.
That happens. Folks, been talking to Jim Dalrymple of the Loop.
Oh, whoa,
What?
If you're done with me, I actually have a question for you about a post that you made.
Fire away.
Actually, can I ask 2 questions? Do you have time that I can ask 2?
All the time in the world.
Okay. So, 1 question. You posted something a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to ask you about this, and I forgot. About Adobe, and said, "Adobe, are you listening?" This is why people hate you.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about that.
Adobe has become, for those of you who are old enough to remember this, the Cork Express of the 2010s and 20s. They've gotten incredibly arrogant when it comes to customer service, just like Cork Express did in the 80s and the 90s. For any number of reasons, there was an article on Petapixel. Adobe, this is why photographers are hating on you. Photoshop is the industry standard, and many photographers must use Adobe's tools, whether it be Photoshop or Lightroom. But we're not feeling like we're getting enough love back from Adobe. Not enough, for lack of a better term.
What kind of love do you need from a company that is supplying you with a software service?
You want software that works on a regular basis, isn't crashy, is fast as they promise, and works the way you promise. Lightroom is my photo editing app of choice, but it can be a pain in the ass to use, especially if you've got several thousand photos. It's dog slow, even on a machine that's got a lot of RAM. Photoshop has the same problem. These are not optimized apps. They are not good when it comes to memory leaks and being stable apps. and the other aspect of it is that photographers feel trapped in this ecosystem of having to pay $10, $15, $20 a month every single month to Adobe, when many of us remember the days when you just buy it and use it for 3 years and then buy a new version, use it for 3 years. We don't feel like we're getting enough value out of that 10, 20, 30 bucks a month on a consistent basis from Adobe, because it feels like Adobe has said, hey, we're king of the hill. There ain't nothing coming for us, so we don't have to treat you guys with respect.
Okay, so what are you saying, that people are starting to leave Adobe for Acorn or Pixelmator Pro, which are both very good applications?
Very good applications. If you are a single person shop, so if you're just a photographer, you don't go to work with a print shop, or you don't go to work with a newspaper or that kind of stuff, those people aren't leaving en masse, but it won't take much to push them over the edge. It'll take
what would it take?
It would take a significant price increase. It would take another version of Lightroom or Photoshop that is even slower than the previous versions. Usually versions get faster. It can be demonstrated by a lot of people, and now true anecdotal evidence, that each successive version of Lightroom gets slower and doesn't provide enough new features. I don't update Lightroom every single time it comes out anymore, because I know it's like, oh shit, what have they changed? What's going to slow down? What's going to cause issues in my workflow? And
so that's basically the old Netscape.
Oh, like I said, I prefer to think of it as the old Cork Express, because that's the most direct relationship too. Because Adobe had this battle with Quark in the 90s, and Adobe pretty much won it. But they forgot why they won it. They won the battle with Quark because Quark pushed away the customers. Adobe didn't win the customers so much as Quark pushed them away.
Yeah, who was that crazy CEO?
Oh God, yeah, he was a loon. He was a Canadian. He was a loon. I can't remember.
My God,
Ibrahim something.
Yeah, he would go off on reporters during press conferences, like just rip them apart, tear them to shreds.
Yeah.
And talk about his customers and how much, basically he hated everybody in the world.
He actually said, if you don't like using our products, then F off and go use something else. People went, okay.
Yep. No, he was a nut job.
He really was.
So how close, and I hope this is okay for your listeners that I'm taking over here, but how close are you to leaving the Adobe ecosystem?
I have downloaded free trials of most of the software. I'm looking right now at cross-platform stuff because of my classes. I'm getting a lot more, and this is interesting, a lot more users who are using PCs than just Macs. So I got to find something that's cross-platform that I can teach people how to use them. That's why Pixelmator Pro, as fantastic an app as it is, won't make my cut when it comes to this. I wouldn't say I'm really close, but if Adobe raises the price and doesn't deliver in the next major version of Lightroom, doesn't deliver for me, I'm a single person shop. I don't got to deal with a newspaper or a print shop or anything else like that. I could very easily move on. For me, it's how much of a learning curve is going to have to be, am I going to have to undertake in order to move away from Lightroom? And right now, there's no apps out there that are, I find, as easy to use as Lightroom, that I'm as good at as with Lightroom, and I don't really want to go through the effort of learning a new app.
But isn't that I don't mean to be cruel here, even though I just opened a new beer, I don't mean to be cruel. Isn't that kind of laziness on your part?
Yep, absolutely.
Shouldn't you? I mean, if Pixelmator Pro on the Mac is the best Mac app, shouldn't you tell your Mac people to use that and tell your Windows people to use, whatever the Windows equivalent of that is instead of Adobe?
That's a good point. But for me, when I'm teaching a class and I'm showing you how to do editing, it's a lot easier for me to teach using one app than it is, okay, you Windows folks, look over there, look out the window for half an hour. I'm going to show the Mac folks how to use Pixelmator. Okay, now you Pixelmator folks, you Mac folks, look out the window for half an hour. I'm going to show the Windows folks how to use the Windows piece of software.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Suppose.
For me, it's got to be both. It's got to be so I can say the one thing to the whole group of 10, 15, 20 people. And that's why I don't do just Pixelmator or just do Acorn or just do other great Mac only apps out there. I know. I went looking for them and went, oh shit, that's right. Pixelmator Pro is Mac only, so I can't use it for my classes.
Okay.
There are some. Affinity Pro is really good. Capture One is pretty good, but they're also Capture One's another professional app. Someone's pointing in the IRC chat room. It's like $300 for Capture One. So those are expensive apps too. So I got to find something that's also within their budget. Photoshop Elements, ironically enough, Elements is a good app that I can teach cross-platform, but they're not a whole lot of them.
But you're talking about $300 for Capture One. Isn't Photoshop a lot of money too if you were just going to buy a license?
You can't buy a license of Photoshop. You have to buy a subscription. You can no longer buy a standalone copy of Photoshop.
I thought you could still buy a standalone copy if you wanted.
Nope, you cannot.
Okay, so it's a subscription.
Yep.
So you're basically screwed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, that's question number one.
Number one.
Question number two.
Okay.
So I was surprised to see your post about Mythic Quest.
Yeah.
Apple's newest TV show.
I got a lot of flack for that one.
Yeah, I was surprised with it too. You would have gotten some flack from me too, except that I was afraid that you'd get on the phone and I'd have to fake a phone call. And, yeah.
Just wasn't in the mood for that bullshit.
I just wasn't in the mood for it. No, I was kind of surprised with your thoughts on that. So first, tell us your thoughts.
Mythic Quest's Raven's Banquet. I think the trailer started to come out in the fall of last year, and it looked really kind of cute and funny. The idea, I really liked the idea of it. So I was really looking forward to it. And Melissa and I sat down and I thought, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have to explain a lot of stuff to Melissa, but I'm not a hardcore gamer. I understand what's going on from the development of a game and that kind of stuff, but I'm not one of those fanatics about this kind of stuff. And so we're watching it, and we get 20 minutes in and we realized we haven't laughed yet. This is a comedy. That's a bad thing. I didn't find any moments of funny in it. But part of it is because it feels very much like a gaming version of The Office. And I didn't like The Office. I don't like that awkward workplace humor kind of stuff. And everyone was a caricature too. You had the executive producer who's just a complete ineffectual boss. You've got this prima donna executive director who thinks his shit don't stink. You've got the coders. You know what I mean? It felt very cookie cutter.
Well, welcome to Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's true too. Exactly, and that's the other thing too is I didn't like the Silicon Valley TV show either. So
I have never watched the Silicon Valley TV show.
Okay.
I have never watched this what is it? Sunny in Philadelphia. I've never seen
me
that.
neither. No.
I've never seen any of these, but I found Mythic Quest kind of funny. Now, I will say, I watched the first episode of this show with somebody else, and partway through, they were on their phone, and I said, "Did we lose you?"
Yeah.
And they said, "Yeah, this just isn't my thing. I
Yeah.
just not interested." So, in fairness to you, I will say that, but I don't think that you and the thing that got me in your post was I'm not a gamer.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get this. Well, I don't think that you need to be a gamer to get the comedy of the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was the thing. I mean, do you need to be a doctor to get Chicago Med?
Yeah.
Which I must say I have also never watched. But do you need to be a detective to get Columbo? No, I don't think that matters for a TV show because they should be able to bring the show to you.
Yes.
And you said that you didn't like The Office. I can see the resemblance to The Office.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of Silicon Valley people. So when I saw those people in Mythic Quest, I thought, oh my God, I know that person.
That's right, exactly. I've had a beer with that guy, yeah.
Yeah, they do have prescription bagels that you're not allowed to ask about. Right. I mean, I get it. I understand now. So, I was just wondering about, do you think that this is a failure of a show for you?
Well, to be clear, and this is my post on the Loop, I said my wife and I watched the first episode last night, and this review is pretty much how we felt about it. I'm not saying it's a bad show, but we didn't laugh once during the first episode. Laughter should be given in a sitcom. I didn't say in that post that I wasn't a gamer. I'm just pointing out the comedy aspect of it. I didn't find any comedy in it. There was no, it wasn't a matter of gaming, being a gamer or not being a gamer and else like that. It just, for me, wasn't funny. Now, there's other folks who said, I'm not a gamer. I thought it was hilarious. Folks who said, I am a gamer. I didn't think it was funny. It goes through the whole gamut of emotions. And I recognize the fact that I don't think it's a failure of a show. I think the show will be a success, however Apple defines it. I don't know if it's been picked up for a second season or not, or if it even will be, if there is a second season. But no, I don't think it's a failure of a show. I think it's a failure for me, only because I didn't find it funny. It was interesting because my wife is not technical, but we both found the same things not funny. It wasn't like I was sitting there laughing my ass off and she wasn't getting the joke. Neither of us were laughing at anything that was supposed to be funny in the show.
So this is. Did you watch more than one episode?
No, we watched the first one and went not funny and didn't watch any others. We might pick up episode 2 or 3, but reading the review that I posted, the reviewer said he'd gotten through 6 episodes and didn't find it funny. So it's kind of, if I agree with the review of the first episode, I got to assume I'd agree with the review of some of the others. But I have heard that if you didn't like the first episode, watch the 5th episode, because they say the 5th episode is very, very, very good. So I might do that. I might just skip ahead.
No, I haven't seen the 5th episode. I think I'm on episode 4.
Yeah.
Because, I wanted to keep going. So I did. I think I'm on episode 4. And there were some funny moments in there. But if I think of, I'm more of a serious show watcher, like a drama or a thriller or a suspense, than anything else. So I've never really been into a lot of comedy TV. And that's just who I am. I don't watch it. I don't watch sitcoms. I don't watch any of that stuff. I have, and there are certain shows that I have in the past. I don't think I ever really watched Seinfeld.
No, I didn't.
I mean, for a while, because the family loved Big Bang Theory, I watched that for a while. But other than that, I would rather watch, a crime drama or a mystery or, one of those things. So
and it's interesting. The next day, Dave pointed a counterpoint. He said, "I loved Apple TV Mythic Quest on the Loop." He said, "Personally, I absolutely loved the show. I found it funny, insightful, irreverent, and clever. A rare comedy in that regard." So fantastic. I love that we have completely different viewpoints about the exact same thing that we watch. And again, I'm not saying it was a bad show. Technically, it looked good. I think the acting was good because it made me dislike these people. So the people I'm supposed to dislike, I disliked. So that's good acting. But yeah, it's just I'm definitely going to want to watch episode 5 and see if that particular comment is right. That if you didn't like the first one, jump ahead to the 5th one, you'll like it a lot more. We'll see.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Last question. I ask you this because the last time we talked, you hadn't watched Truth Be Told. Have you watched that yet?
No. What? Sorry, I had. No, we watched the first two episodes, and again, it didn't capture our imagination. And I love, the lead actress. I've forgotten her name.
Octavia Spencer.
Octavia Spencer. I love her. I loved everything she's ever done. So that's one reason I was looking forward to it. But yeah, the storyline didn't do anything for me, so we stopped after 2. One of the things is there's so much to watch nowadays. If you don't grab my attention in the first 2 episodes, or if you actively turn me off in the first episode, I'm not going to slog through 7 or 8 more episodes trying to decide whether I like that show or not. I just don't have the time anymore.
Let's be honest, that's not true, because I've tried to actively turn you off for 25 years, and you still call me.
That's only because you can't figure out call blocking on your iPhone. That's all.
I didn't say I was a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
I just said,
exactly. Do you like that particular show?
I love Truth Be Told. My favorite show.
Even above Servant?
Oh, jeez, The Servant. The Servant. Why'd you have to bring that up? It's dark now. Now I don't even want to look out the window.
Oh, dear.
The Servant is the spookiest show for sure.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't think M. Night Shyamalan knows where he's going with this.
Yeah.
I think he just makes this shit up show to show, and he does it to freak me out, because it does every time.
It's so slow, but it's also so freaking creepy.
Oh, God, the creepiness factor is just out of this world.
There's all kinds of things about the show that bug the hell out of me, like the cook who can't taste anymore. Go to the hospital. Go see a doctor. Oh, I can't taste. Well, get that looked at, you idiot.
Well, because he's got thorns coming out of his throat.
What happened with that whole thing? That was the first 3 or 4 episodes. It seemed like, oh, this is a mystery, and they left it off the last 7 episodes. But anyway, overall, yes, I like the show. I don't know if I'd go back and watch it over again, but I did enjoy it.
What do you mean watch it over again? Why would you watch it over again?
Well, there's a really good show I will watch over again, like West Wing, The Sopranos, Justified. Those are series I can watch over and over and over again.
I've already watched it. Why would I watch it again?
You don't watch.
I already know what's going to happen.
Well, see, this is a funny thing. I've got a brain that doesn't work properly. I've forgotten what's happened in The Sopranos. I've forgotten what happens in West Wing.
Well, you know what? I do that with Poirot. You know Poirot?
No.
Agatha Christie's Poirot.
Oh, yes. Hercule Poirot. Yes.
Yeah. I forget.
I know.
After a couple of years, and I rewatch the shows just because I love them so much.
Exactly. That's exactly what
okay,
it is.
That's the only show. I wouldn't watch a rerun of any other show, though, or a movie. I never watch a movie more than once.
Really?
Never.
See, a good movie, I've seen Casablanca over 100 times.
No.
I've seen
Why?
I've seen Gone with the Wind probably 30 or 40 times.
I have never seen either of those movies.
What? Even once?
No.
The hell is wrong with you?
I've seen Cheech and Chong.
Oh, Jesus.
Seriously, I love Cheech and Chong.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to hate the answer because I know what the answer is going to be, and my respect for you, low as it is, will get lower. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen Citizen Kane by Orson Welles?
Who?
Oh,
No,
come on!
No, no, I've never seen
Are you kidding me?
it. I've never seen it.
It's like the greatest movie of all time. How could you not
Is that
watch
the
that
one where
movie?
Wait, is that the one where he's in the jury room?
He's in the what?
The jury room?
No, that's 12 Angry Men, you pillock.
Oh, yeah. No, I've never seen it.
Oh, my God.
No.
Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, and... So you haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia either, have you?
No.
What is wrong with you?
I've seen Cheech and Chong.
That's just disturbing, dude.
I love Cheech and Chong.
Oh, my God. You ever met either of them?
No, but I would have loved to.
I met Tommy Chong is Canadian. Born, I think he was born and brought up here in Vancouver. I saw him walk down the street one day on Robson Street in Vancouver. He said, "Hey, Mr. Chong." I was like, "Hey, dude, how you doing?" I was like, "Holy shit, you're stoned right now, aren't you?" I can tell the look in your eye.
Those two, I mean, that's got to be the best comedy group ever.
Well, I wouldn't say
Those
that,
two.
but they're very good.
They are hilarious.
They are hilarious.
Okay, the best high comedy group.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Can I go now?
Yes. Thank you for answering those questions because the Adobe one, I was very interested.
Yeah, that's good. And it was a good question too. Yeah. Adobe isn't. Oh, by the way, it was Fred Ibrahimi, thanks to Mosquito.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you, Mosquito. Yeah, what a nut job.
Yeah, he's complete batch. I don't know what he's doing now because he sold Cork years ago, but I hope he's miserable whatever he's doing because he made us miserable.
Well, there's no doubt he's miserable because he makes everybody miserable.
Yeah, folks, for Dr. Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. His podcast, The Dalrymple Report with Dave Mark, is available on the iTunes store. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk later, buddy. See you.
Bye.
It's a little longer than we normally go on our episode, but that was fine. That was fun. Thanks very much for Jim for going long. When we come back, we're going to talk about how technical do you have to be in order to be a good photographer. All that and much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. We had a good long segment with Jim. Appreciate you guys being tuned into the show, whether you're listening in live or whether you tuned in to the archive. In our starting point photography segment on tonight's show, I taught a class about 3 weeks ago. One of the ladies was asking some very technical questions. I think I mentioned this before. I said, no, you don't need to know that stuff. It's not relevant to your life as a beginning photographer. And it got me to thinking about what are the things that what people say that you need in order to become a better or good photographer. And how much technical knowledge do you need about photography? And I saw this article that said every photographer should understand the exposure triangle. Melissa.
You haven't told me about an
I
exposure
did.
triangle.
I did. You just don't remember. Remember we talked.
I haven't practiced that yet.
We haven't practiced. Remember that thing we talked about shutter speed and aperture and ISO?
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Yes.
That's exposure triangle.
So you look at one thing first, and then the other, and then the other. Is that
yes.
right?
Basic. That's the basics. But do you need to know what the exposure triangle is in order to take good pictures? No, you don't. You may take great pictures and never have heard those words ever in your entire life. Do you need to know, another term was exposed to the right. Do you know what that is?
Exposed to the right.
Yes. What it means is you expose for the bright spot of your shot because you can fix the dark spots in software. I've shown this to you. I've taken a picture and shown Melissa by bumping up the shadows. You can capture detail in the shadows. But if there's a really, really bright spot, you can't capture detail in bright spots. So it's called exposed to the right. So always expose for the brightest part of your scene. So in this regard, on Melissa's face, you expose for your face, and your dark shawl I can fix in Photoshop. But you don't need to know that. It's not something you need to know about photography.
That's a handy thing to know.
It is, but it's not a basic thing to know. Because what I try to teach people in my classes, because remember, these are beginner classes. What I try to teach folks is to learn how to be a good photographer in good light. That's why I said one of the things I say is go out at sunset or sunrise, because then you can catch the golden hour, the half hour before or after sunrise or sunset. You're guaranteed of almost getting good pictures, lovely clouds and a nice orange warm glow on people's faces and silhouettes and great shadows and that kind of stuff, as opposed to saying, go out at noon on a bright sunny day, because the light's too challenging for a beginner there. I want you to become a good photographer and not get frustrated by not being able to see or capture the light properly. So if you learn about exposing to the right and you can't do it properly because you're not in the right lighting situation, you get frustrated. You take pictures, they're too dark or they're too bright, and you give up. I don't know this stuff. I can't learn this stuff. I want you to go and practice taking good pictures in good light before you start trying to take good pictures in not so good light. Bright sunlight, dark places, shadows, that kind of stuff. You don't need to know the technical details of photography. And in my opinion, I would encourage you that if someone is trying to teach you this stuff, I've seen beginner classes where they're talking about, we'll teach you how to shoot on manual. Run far away. If you are a beginner photographer, you should not be shooting on manual. You should be getting off automatic, but shooting on manual is a technical challenge that a beginner generally isn't up for. You've got too many variables when it comes to manual. That's why I say keep it simple. Focus on one thing. One of the things I teach is focus on aperture priority. Shoot in aperture priority. Shoot creating a different depth of field for your photography. Ignore shutter speed. Let the camera figure it out. Ignore ISO. Let the camera figure it out. Ignore all that stuff. Let the camera do all that heavy lifting of the other aspects of photography, and you focus and practice on just aperture or just shutter. So don't think that you need to read a lot of technical books and understand the math behind f-stop or the math behind why a 50 millimeter lens, why an 18 millimeter lens is a wide angle versus a 400 millimeter lens, which is a narrow but telephoto. You don't need to know all that stuff. Focus on creating good images, no matter what camera you have, whether it's an iPhone or a point and shoot or a DSLR. Get good at taking photos in good light before you step out of that comfort zone and start trying to manipulate light or shoot in more challenging conditions or learning about exposing to the right or those kinds of things. I just don't want people to get frustrated by it. Hopefully in May, I'm teaching a group of 12-year-olds here in one of the schools on the Sunshine Coast. And it's one of the reasons why I was thinking about this is because they're 12 years old. They've got attention spans of gnats. I've got to find ways to get my explanations to be very, very simplified. Not because the kids aren't smart. The kids are going to be smart. But you want to be able to take those technical things and make them easily understandable for a 12-year-old. And that then progresses on to adults, too. Those same kind of techniques of teaching will work with adults. So I'm happy to do it both ways. But I try not to get too technical with people because the technical aspects of photography can be very, very, very frustrating, especially when you're trying to be creative. I always say the thing I love about photography is the fact that it satisfies both that creative aspect of me, but also the technical aspect of me. I really like that. But some people may not like that. They may not want the technical details. If I give people the actual definition of what aperture or f-stop is, their brains explode because it's just a mathematical formula. But if I tell them it controls what's in and out of focus, they go, oh, okay, I got that. That's easy. So as a beginner, keep things simple. You can take better photos the more technical you become when the light gets different. You can take lovely shots at sunset. What happens if you want to take a silhouette shot? You intentionally want to create a silhouette shot. How do you do that? Well, that's a technical challenge. You may not know how to do that. But taking a portrait of someone at sunset, all you do is have them face the sun. You stand in front of them, you'll get a lovely shot. Easy to do. So stay within your limitations. Get good at these simple things. Get good at creating good photos with good composition and leading lines and eyes in focus and that kind of stuff. And then worry about the technical aspect later. You don't want to take one of the things I teach in the class. Don't learn too much, because you'll just get frustrated and you'll stop taking photos.
But I must say, so the strategy that you used in the kitchen one day, we had, I thought it was the same thing, but you lined up things on the table to teach me about f-stop.
Yes. And it was a simple little thing of take 3 or 4 objects I use when I was beginning, stuffed animals, put them on your kitchen table about a foot apart, diagonal from each other, and then set the aperture. So turn your camera, your DSLR, to aperture priority, and set the number of aperture to be the lowest number it can be. Doesn't matter what the number represents. Just make it the lowest number, and then focus on that first stuffed animal and take a picture. Then make the number one number higher. So if you're at, say, f3.5, make it f4, whatever the next number up is, and focus and take a picture of the first stuffed animal. And keep doing that all the way up. And then when you look at the photos on a computer, you'll see the difference that each one of those apertures makes. And that's a more concrete example of what happens when you change the aperture on your DSLR, as opposed to trying to figure out the math of it and all that other kind of stuff. It's an easy, fun little experiment to do. And then you can do the reverse too. Focus on the last thing in the line and change your aperture and see how things change focus. That's called depth of field. It can be easy. Photography can be easy. It can be complicated, but I want it to be easy to start off with before I start talking about complicated stuff. I think that's it, folks. We went long with Jim Dalrymple, so we got to go short for this segment. We had an idea for a Melissa question. I put a file on her desktop, and she went, "How'd you do that?" We'll talk about that on next week's show of file sharing and how I can magically move things from my computer to hers. Ooh. And something that again, us nerds know automatically, but for you, it was like, how'd you do that? How'd you get on my computer? Folks, that's it for tonight's show. As always, I want to say thanks very much to our good friend Jim Dalrymple, The Loop, at loopinsight.com. Thanks very much to you guys being tuned in on the archive or whether you're tuned in live. As always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!
Bye.
Sorry, I forgot this. Happy Valentine's Day to my beautiful wife.
Oh.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.